Okay, so we can see here that Sabbath that was coming, that they were preparing for, was a high day. And what it was the 15th of Abib. It was the Sabbath, the first day of unleavened bread that they were preparing for. But it's referred to as the Sabbath. All right. And this is the way, this is Hebrew terminology, because the Sabbath doesn't just mean the seventh day of the week. There's 7 annual Sabbaths throughout the year, and those are our annual high days that come during their season. And we and the feast days are all arranged around these days. Okay, let's move on. Let's go back to Leviticus 23. Let's continue on down here. Leviticus 23 and verse 15, it says, "And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, seven Sabbaths shall be complete." Now, many people think, okay, we got to count from the first day of the week to the 7th day of the week and do this 7 times. And then Shabuot or Pentecost will always fall on the first day of the week, or a Sunday. All right. So it says, "Even until the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh." All right, but let's get the definition on the meaning of the word Sabbath. Now, Sabbath, of course, we know it's the 7th day of the week. It's a day of rest. Okay, Sabbath. Let's look in Strong's. Shabbat means an intermission. That is specifically the Sabbath. All right. Now we already know that there's 7 Sabbaths. Now Brown Driver and Briggs lexicon gives you a wider semantic range of this word. Sabbath. Okay. Sabbath year. That's also a Sabbath. They give you Day of Atonement, which is a Sabbath. Then also week. One of the definitions of the word Shabbat is week. I'll provide another witness for this from Gesenius Hebrew and Chaldee lexicon, which is a highly regarded lexicon. And let's look at the definition from Gesenius. Okay, the first definition that it gives you is Sabbath, the 7th day of the week. All right. But then in the second definition, it reads, perhaps a week, like the Syriac and the Greek, and they quote Matthew 28:1. But notice Leviticus 23:15 is also listed as an example for the word Sabbath, meaning a week or pertaining to a week in the scripture. So this should bring more clarity to you right now. All right. And it is called the Feast of Weeks. All right. Let's go on over to Exodus 34, verse 22. And it reads, "And thou shalt observe the Feast of Weeks, of the first fruit of the wheat harvest, and the Feast of Ingathering at the year's end." Now, the word translated weeks, and that's where we get the name of this feast from. The word translated weeks in Strong's is Shabuot. All right. Now, the plural of that is Shabuot. All right. That's the Feast of Weeks. Okay. It means literally 7. That is a week, specifically of years. And we're going to get to the example of when a week is used to mean years. We'll cover that in a minute. Okay, Brown, Driver, and Briggs tells us 7, period of 7 days or years, a heptad or a week, a period of 7 days, a week. Then they list Feast of Weeks. Okay, so you can see from the definitions alone that a week does not necessarily mean from the first day of the week to the 7th day of the week. It's just 7, or a period of 7 days or 7 years. And let's get some scriptural examples of this. Okay, in Genesis 29 verse 27, it reads, "Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years." So you can see he's alluding to years here. This week, he's not talking about fulfill her week or work for me from the first day of the week, from so-called Sunday to so-called Friday at sunset or Saturday. He's not speaking of that, but he says fulfill her week. And then he explains it. "And we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve me yet 7 other years." Verse 28, "And Jacob did so and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also." All right, so that's one example there of the word week, and there's other ones. Let's go to Daniel 25. Actually, let's start at verse 24. It says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem until the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. Now we know for a fact that this wasn't speaking of 7 literal weeks from first day to Shabuot. This was speaking of 7, each week was 7 years. Okay, just like the definition of the word explain. Now let's reflect back to that word translated Shabbat, which also means a week. Shabbat just doesn't mean Friday, so-called Friday at sunset. You know, Shabbat also means the high holy days. Those are Sabbaths, even though they don't have to land on a so-called Friday at sunset. And the word Shabbat can also mean week. The root of the word Shabbat is Sheba, which means 7. All right, but let's get further. Let's get more proof. You know, we have to prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt. Notice Leviticus 25 verse 8. "And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Now this is the law of the Jubilee. But you can see that it speaks of it as Sabbaths. It says 7 Sabbaths. All right. 7 times 7. All right. So this is not speaking of a weekly Sabbath, nor even a yearly Sabbath. These aren't even feast days at all that it's speaking of, but it's referred to as Sabbaths. All right. These are intermissions in time. So this should easily be understood right now.